Here's a tutorial on Giga by Samuel Arnold. This is from the ABRSM Book 1 Encore book. Book 1, grades 1 and 2. And this is actually the first piece of the book. So as a starter, we're going to take a look at some of these markings here. So for example, at the very beginning, we have this little asterisk. So for people with smaller hands where an octave might be a little bit uncomfortable, they're saying that instead of doing the full octave like this, you could actually just play the top note and that would work out just fine. But ideally, adding in that octave in the opening. To kind of get the hang of this key that we're in, so we're in C major, it would be great to start up with a C scale. So you could do one hand, you could do both hands. I'll just start with the both hands. So we're going to warm up with a 1 octave C major scale. Ready, and... Now I'm going to bump it up to 2 octaves. Ready, and... So if you haven't done a C major scale in a while, this will definitely be a good review to try both hands and with the threes together when you're going up and down. Okay, so speaking of scale, basically what's happening in that right hand is a C major scale in a unique pattern of 6/8. So 6 beats per measure. The 8th note gets 1 beat. So we're going to actually start at that treble C, and there's a lot of these crossover situations. So the melody for the first 4 bars will go like this. So it's going from this all the way down. So one thing to keep in mind when you are doing these crossovers, technically you don't need to look down because it's just the next step down with your 3 pivoting over, kind of like with the scale. So try to challenge yourself not to glance down if you can help it, because you don't need to. And then, I don't know if you noticed, but from measure 3 into 4, I didn't do a crossover there. So I didn't do this, but it's just the next step up with the 3rd finger though. And then the goal is to keep, once you start that first 8th note, it's just a continuous flow to that middle C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So keeping it as even as you can, going into the downbeat from 6/1. Let's look at measure 5 to 8. So after we do measure 4, big jump back to how we were. Cross, no crossing. Here's a cross for the F sharp. And then taking out the ornament, the mordant, as we call it. We're just going to end with 3 on G, we can add in the mordant later. So whenever you have any piece that has ornaments in them, so whether it be a trill, a mordant, a poggiatura, a turn, keep those out of the picture initially so that you're really solid with your fingering of the main melody and yeah, just kind of navigating without the extra notes attached for the ornaments. So keeping it very basic and simple for practice. Okay, so let's go over that again. So measure 5 to 8. 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stay there. Cross 3. Okay. Working into left hand for that first section. So I'm going to actually play this with the octave. And let's go through this together. So we have 2 octave spots, measure 1 and measure 6. 2, 3, rest, rest, rest. 2, 3. So keeping in mind these rests that are occurring, so I definitely didn't do that. So let's try that again at the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, just stepwise. 2, 3, and then while we're resting here at measure 4, we're going to move that thumb to 3 on the C, because that's going to help us with that G octave right next to this measure 5. So right on the 3 on C, 2, 3, stretch that hand, G, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, and then here's our arpeggio. So for fingering on this, you can pick either 1, 2, 3, 5, or what's in the music is 1, 2, 4, 5. Either is correct, but whatever you pick, just stick to one fingering the whole time. Otherwise, it's just going to be a little too confusing. So keep it consistent, either 1, 2, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 5. Like, how would you normally do your arpeggios? Or 5, 3, 5, 3. So up to you, but just choose one. Okay, so now I'm going to put it together in our slow tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So far, so good. Moving over to the B section, so measure 9 to 16. So with this right hand, we are going to have kind of a similar figure as the A section. This time we're starting on 3 on the B, which is G position. Still dealing with some crossovers, so let's go over the first 4 bars, measure 9 to 12. 2, 3, staying in your position. Here's the crossover. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So similar to the A section where measure 4 to 5 had a huge jump, measure 12 and 13 also a huge jump. So you just ended with 2 on E at measure 12. Now we got to jump up to D position up here. So 3 on the F. No cross. 2, 4, 3, 2. the crossover. So it's very similar to measures 7 and 8. Super similar with the fingering, crossing over, and also with the ornament, which we'll talk about later. In the meantime, let's take a look at this B section for dynamics specifically. So I played everything forte, but now that we know what this sounds like, let's see if we can add the dynamics. So piano, measure 9 to 12, followed by forte, 13 to the end. Two, three, four, five, six. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's forte. Excellent. Moving over to left hand. So coming in from measure 8, where we did our G major arpeggio going down. Measure 9, we should be in C position, 1 on the G. No F sharps on this section. 2, 3, 2, 3. Down to the lower G. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's talk about that left hand for a second that we just did. So measure 11, we had that big octave. So I didn't go back to 5 on the C, although you can, but just for a little more fluidity maybe, try and see if you can do the 3, 1, and you'll still end up in C position anyway after you hit this thumb. So you see how my hand kind of naturally goes back to C position. So I know some people could do 5, like a 5, 5, but I think preferred is 3 for sure. Okay, let's keep going. Measure 13, starting with that 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're going to reach to 3 on the F. 2, 3, 2, 3. Here's our C major arpeggio going down. Okay, so if we're kind of analyzing what's happening here at measure 9 to 12, there's like kind of like a call and response situation happening. So if we look at the right hand, left hand, so they're kind of taking turns with those eighth notes, string of eighth notes, which is super cool. Okay, now we're going to put it all together. So nice and slow, starting from measure 9, keeping in mind the dynamics. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Skipping the repeats, of course. So with this piece overall, what can tend to happen is holding on through the rests, the dotted quarter rests. So just really make sure that you come off, off, off. So if you need to circle those to help you see those rests, definitely welcome to do so. Finally, let's talk about the ornament. So this is happening on measure 8 and measure 16, so at the end of each section. So every time we approach this mordant, as we call it, it's always starting on that 3. So with a mordant, it starts on the note, so G at measure 8. And then it has the little sharp sign above it to indicate that you want to sharp the next note, which is the lower note below the G, and then come back to the G. So our mordant, 3, 2, 3, off. And that'll be the same for the last mordant, although there's no sharp sign attached. So it'll just be white keys. So 3, 2, 3, C, B, C. And how that'll line up will be the same as measure 8. So I would highly suggest just practicing those in an isolated manner. Once you get used to that fingering and if it needs a sharp or not, and then trying it with the hands together. Okay, just to hear what it sounds like at a bit of a faster speed, I'm gonna play from the beginning, no repeats. And there you have it.